All right, let me read the checklist. As chair of the Sanborn Regional School Board's Facilities Subcommittee, I find that due to the state of the emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12 pursuant to Executive Order 2020-4, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, I'm confirming that we are providing public access to the meeting by telephone with additional access possibilities by video or other electronic means. We're utilizing Zoom for this electronic meeting. All members of the Sanborn Regional School Board's Facilities Subcommittee have the ability to communicate contemporaneously during this meeting throughout this platform, and the public has access to contemporaneously listen and, if necessary, participate in this meeting through dialing the following phone number: 1-646-558-8656. Meeting ID 936-1281-9219, or by clicking on the following website address: www.youtube.com/C/SRSD meeting videos. Anyone wishing to make a public comment concerning items on the agenda can email Matt Angel, MANGELL @SAU17.net. B, providing public notice of the necessary information for accessing the meeting. We previously gave notice to the meeting of the necessary information for access to the meeting, including how to access the meeting using Zoom or telephonically. Instructions have also been provided on the website of the Sanborn Regional School District at www.sau17.net. C, providing a mechanism for public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are problems with access. If anybody has a problem, please call 603-642-8541 or email helpdesk@sau17.net. D, adjourning the meeting if the public is unable to access the meeting. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting will be adjourned and rescheduled. Please note that all votes taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. Let's start the meeting by taking a roll call attendance. With each member states their presence, please also state whether there's anyone in the room with you during this meeting, which is required under the right to know law. Larry?
Yes, Larry Heath. I'm in my basement. There is one other person here, my wife. She is in her office.
Okay. Matt?
I'm Matt Angel. I'm at my office at the SAU, and there's no one else here with me.
Jamie?
Jamie Fitzpatrick. I'm in my home office alone.
Jim? Jim, you're muted.
Yes. Yeah, I'm sorry. I am here. I'm sorry. I was trying to grab it as I was cleaning my eyeglasses. Yep. I'm here. I'm present. I'm at my office at school. I have with one other special educator, which is Kevin Bowden.
Okay. Jim Baker. I'm in a room in my home and there's no one here with me. Okay, so call the meeting to order.
Hey, Jim, you still got Dan out there too.
Yep.
Dan Doyle.
Yep, Dan Doyle here.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Dan. I thought it was the other Dan.
Nope, I'm in my office at the
Okay.
high school with my 9-year-old son in the background here.
Okay, thank you. So can I get a motion on the minutes of September 16th?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion or comments? All in favor of approving the minutes as written? A roll call vote. Larry?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
Yes for myself.
Hey, just a point of order.
Yep.
Do you want to do a Pledge of Allegiance?
Well, we can if you want. Do you want to?
Sure.
Okay. Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Okay, so need a motion on Wednesday, November 19th minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Larry?
Second.
And any discussion or comments? Okay, roll call vote for approval. Larry?
Yes.
Jamie?
Aye.
Yes for myself. Business administrators' comments. Matt?
Okay, so I'm going to try a new format that I use at the facilities committee. And I gave an update as to all the stuff that's going on with the facilities. There's a lot going on at this meeting, so I'm going to try to cut this short. If you want to read more into what's going on, there's a document linked to the agenda. Basically, this what we're seeing right now is that we had a failure of the refrigerator at Bakey, which destroyed all the food that was contained inside of that refrigerator. It's one of these big walk-in units that's larger than my office. And the manufacturer date of that unit was 1990. And we were able to repair it. However, it's at some point we're going to have to replace it. Okay. The next thing, which is also a bigger topic for this particular meeting, is that we had a boiler at Bakey get isolated because of our insurance company required us to do so. We were entertaining some contractors to give us a quote to repair it. Actually, as of today, 7 out of 9 of the individual pieces to the boiler is made up of different sandwich. It's like a big sandwich. If you want a bigger boiler, you just add another sandwich to the end of it. And each of those pieces of bread, so to speak, 7 out of 9 of those have failed. And so at this point, we're looking at a new boiler, and the other boiler started to weep, and which is a sign that it's going to start to leak. Just right now, looking at the boiler that's running right now, we need to replace 2 pieces out of that as well. So I'm going to be asking the school board tonight to appoint a mechanical engineer to go and design for boilers at Bakey, and not try to repair those boilers. And we're going to try to keep limping along on that one remaining boiler. If that boiler fails, it's about $8,900 a month to rent a boiler. Okay. And then for that mechanical engineer, I want to make sure that this committee understands that it's for this one transaction. It's for just designing boilers at Bakey, with the idea that we're not trying to create a future problem where that, like if we were going to be doing HVAC at Bakey, we're not going to be creating a problem by putting in the wrong boilers. We want to make sure that we have good decision making in putting in the right boilers. Okay. Also, I wanted to update you on the parking lot needs to be resurfaced at Bakey. Also, that the video system at Bakey is poor. We're going to be bringing on some people on this call after Jim to talk about the video system. Also, as of today, we found out that one of the sewer lines or all the sewer pipes in the extension, or I'm sorry, the renovation that was done at Bakey back in the 70s used a sewer pipe that has been recalled, and it has a tendency to crack. And also that the liner it has a tendency to corrode. Well, it's cracked and corroded so much that it caused a blockage, so we lost a bathroom. And so we have to knock down a wall to gain access to the blockage and replace it. But we were also told that if this is cracking here, it's cracking throughout your facility. Moving on to Memorial, we've had a couple of heat pumps fail in the last couple of months. So pretty much every classroom has a heat pump. I would just anticipate seeing more failures, and we're just going to replace the heat pumps. Let's see. We're planning on trying to regrade outside of Bakey to try to make it so that water doesn't backflow into the building during heavy rainstorms. Also over the holiday break around Christmas and New Year's, Our water company installed a new filter into Memorial to try to remove arsenic 7 out of the water. I've been having a lot of conversations with people about whether they can drink the water. I was told that we can, however, I'm not giving a green light on that until we actually get a test in hand that's been recorded with the state. Let's see, again, at Memorial, we need to do some resurfacing of the parking areas, restriping and seal coating. At the high school, middle school, I'm going to skip the vendor one. Our boilers at the high school are causing problems as well, but those are really maintenance issues. I have an older picture. Fortunately, it's on my iPhone. You can see that the boiler there is, again, it's made up of like sandwiches, and whenever one of those things fails, it actually shoots out a little jet of steam, and it destroys the cover over the boiler. And so the covers on one of the furnaces is totally dead. However, there's a local company that can manufacture those covers for us. So we're going to be putting a new cover around the boiler, and you want to have the cover on there in case it has a pinhole for steam. You don't want anyone walking by that. We also had a problem with the chimney at the high school, which in the boilers. We found out that the boiler maintenance, we contract out boiler maintenance, and we expect our contractor to do preventative maintenance, including cleaning out the boilers, and they skipped that this year. The amount of smoke coming out of the chimney was such that some local resident did call 911, and we were able to intercept that before the fire trucks were dispatched. However, they removed a total of 20 gallons of carbon out of the furnaces and the chimney. So we're going to be evaluating our next steps on preventative maintenance at the high school. We also are seeing it up. I'm changing the subject. We're seeing an uptick of illicit paraphernalia in the elevator at the high school. This is because there's no control on the elevator, and kids are just climbing into it and using it. And what we need to do is put in a swipe access card on the elevator so that only those people that are authorized to use the elevator can use it. Let's see, general facilities. The fire suppression system has been turned off at the grounds facility and the tech building. These are 2 buildings found at the seminary property. What we're trying to do is we're trying to move out of the seminary property and shut down those buildings. I'm trying to use the appropriation to operate those buildings for part of the math curriculum. However, we still can use those buildings for 5-year cold storage. It's going to cause a storage problem after 5 years. So in the future, we're going to be talking about a storage facility at the high school. Also, we need to talk about summer plans for baseball at Chase Field. Right now, the baseball field is not safe to play on, and that's because it needs to be regraded. There's like a lip, there's like a 3 or 4 inch lip on the baselines. If someone were to run off of that, they could break a leg. And then let's see, we disposed of several vehicles that were being, we cannot inspect them anymore. These are the vans. And we tried to give them to shop class to go and have the kids take apart. And the shop class said they're just too far gone. So we just sent them off to be recycled. Equipment. We have a one-ton truck that has a dump body on the back that can no longer carry anything in its dump. Normally at this time of the year, we put a sander and a salt spreader in the back of it, and it can't carry that. However, we have another 1-ton dump, and that is capable. So we're trying to do our salting and sanding with one unit. Now, I do want to talk to this committee about instead of getting another 1-ton dump, getting a pickup truck with a utility bed, because I don't think we need 2 1-ton dumps. I think a utility bed where we can put the tools, the facility members' tools inside of it, so they're a roving repair person. And then finally, we have a Turo tractor that is failing, and that tractor is just used for snow blowing at the high school. It's way beyond end of life. We'll be talking about that one as well. Let's see, risks that I've identified. The boiler, Bakey. We have a broken walkway at Memorial, which was the old entrance. Broken parking lot at Bakey. And then obviously the video camera system at Bakey. It's so poor that we can't identify individuals on the camera, and also the video server for it failed last year. We're renting a video server right now. So that's my update.
Okay, any discussion by the members?
Yeah, I got some questions. So we mentioned that there's a sewer pipe break, and we mentioned that the sewer pipe was recalled. Is that company still in existence? And do we have any recourse against that company for defective piping?
The pipe was installed in the 1970s. After 40 years, I don't think there's any recourse.
So then the recall thing is really not pertinent.
Yeah, because there's no. The answer was told to me, and I believe that the company no longer exists. At this point, what we want to do is we want to swap it out with PVC, and as we go along, we're going to swap out what we can with PVC. I'm not going to ask the school board to replace it all.
Yeah, you could do a video. You could do a video camera down that line and inspect it as well.
Yeah, and that's what we did today. Is we had a video camera and it actually got recorded. So at some point, I'm going to be able to get access to that video. If you want to see it, I can send it along. But over February break, we're going to be breaking through that wall and taking out that blockage so that we can bring the bathroom back online.
Anything else? Anybody else?
Yeah, I got a few of them.
Go ahead, Jamie.
So we mentioned that you wanted to hire a mechanical engineer. I don't really understand that. You get boilers that are specified for the space that you're covering. I don't know why you need a mechanical engineer for that. Why aren't we just getting the specifications that we need for a boiler?
Well, a mechanical engineer can design a boiler system for you to make sure that you're putting in the appropriate amount of or the appropriate size of boiler into the building. Okay. The reason for the mechanical engineer for me is to make sure that we're not putting in the wrong boiler for a future upgrade. So I'm hoping to get some HVAC money with the next round of COVID funding. And I want to make sure that whatever boiler we put in there doesn't conflict with that, because I would hate to come to this committee and say that we now no longer can have a return on investment because I picked the wrong boiler.
Yeah, I just don't know why the boiler manufacturer can't specify that, and then they have performance guarantees. That escapes me.
Well, it's an installer, it's not the manufacturer. So it's kind of like when you go and have a boiler put into your house, you have the plumber come in and do it for you. We can definitely do that. I just want to make sure that we're doing it with forward thinking.
Then the last one is you mentioned that we may need to build storage facility. I don't see a need for storage facility. The last I recall, we had a whole bunch of storage under the gym that we just cleaned out. And why would we not be able to use that? So I'm not in favor of building new buildings for storage.
Okay, this is these are pieces of equipment the size of cars and trucks. And right now they're spread across the district. There's a 3-bay garage. No, it's a 3-bay garage over at the seminary that has pieces of equipment in each of those bays. There's also a bay on Chase Field that has a piece of equipment in it. And then there are 2 pieces of equipment in the bay at the high school. I know that there's garage space over at where the memorial is that we can store equipment in. But in 5 years, we're going to lose 3 bays of storage. So either we have to reevaluate what kind of equipment we have and reduce the numbers, or build a facility to house lawnmowers the size of trucks.
So that's something that you want to work into the CIP plan?
Yeah, this would be a long-term strategic plan kind of thing.
Mhm.
But we are taking into account the fact that you've got 5-year a deal with the seminary sale to be able to keep that equipment there.
That's correct.
So this is something that's 5 years out. It's not something, I was reading it that it's something that we wanted to do in the near term, and that didn't make any sense to me.
No, 5 years out.
Okay.
Jim, you're here for the greenhouse, right?
Correct.
Why don't we skip ahead to the greenhouse, if everybody's okay with that?
Okay. Jim has a presentation, and I can bring it up on the screen. Sorry, Jim. I'm waiting for a PowerPoint to load.
Well, it's loading, Jim. It's Jamie
Yeah.
speaking.
Yes.
I still owed you a call. I ran into some issues out of quarantine for a little bit, and then life got in the way. I never got around to it.
No worries, no worries. I totally understand. And, let me also say, I do appreciate the time that you are all making for me to be able to speak about the greenhouse. And Jamie, I thank you very much. I appreciate that. I know that there's been a lot going on, and so that's totally understandable. Not a worry.
Still going to reach out to you and bother you, though. Just wanted to put you on notice.
Me too, Jim. I got some more stuff for you.
Oh, great. Excellent. So should I can I just get started now? Is
Yeah,
that,
go ahead.
or okay. I didn't know how you wanted to do it. And then Matt, I'll just let you know if we're going to go over to the next slide.
Yeah.
So I did have, and so I will point out that Kevin Bowden is no longer in the room with me. He had been, about 10 feet away from me in the room. I'm in a room where there are 3 case managers who share the space, and he had been here, but he was I needed to run to another meeting. So therefore, he's not present right now, but he is the life skills case manager. And so he does generally does the curriculum for the life skills students. I am also a case manager. I primarily work with juniors with learning disabilities, in math or English or anything like that. However, I'm also teaching the life skills science class. And so we do a lot of hands-on learning. And just sort of generally speaking, we do a lot now, even with the pandemic. And what we do is we send materials home and things like that. But we're also, generally speaking, aside from just this year, we're doing a lot of hands-on things. So the greenhouse is something that is I'm looking at as being not just for this year. It's looking at a longer term sort of possibility for educational experience. Can you go to the next slide, Matt? Or can I do that?
Can you see it?
We're still on the first one.
I can only see the first slide. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's over in the list of slides, but it's not on the one, it's not featured.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, let's try a different one.
Yeah. The slide didn't progress.
Can I share it from on my end?
Should be able to.
Oh, there we go. Okay, so one of the things I wanted to talk about is the benefits of a school greenhouse. I don't know how much time I have. Do I have 10 minutes or do I have?
Just jam it out.
Okay. I was gonna want to make sure I didn't go over the time, but so some of the benefits of a school greenhouse. So certainly people can understand the benefits of a greenhouse, but a lot of the benefits for the students is that they can grow their own food. And that is food that can be prepared in the cafeteria. I have talked to Cafe Services. Kara Green is the manager, and she is more than willing to have some of the fruits and vegetables and things that we grow featured in the cafeteria, and then they can prepare them in various ways. The access to a year-round learning garden, so this year-round learning experience, obviously looking outside and we have, you know, 1.5 feet of snow on the ground, there is no possibility for a long time that we're going to be able to get outside and actually do any planting. Now, the other thing I will point out is that in the life schools, the life skills classroom, we do not have any windows. So we do have a small area where we have some grow lights, but that's really, you know, it becomes very limited. It's primarily for growing seedlings and things. The other thing about the school greenhouse is the hands-on learning that can be integrated with any of the lessons, and also some of the increased learning opportunities. So it's there's a lot of different learning experiences that can happen by having access to the hands-on environment. So they're doing a lot of things like calculating, you know, how much area they need to grow plants, learning about the balance, chemical balances in fertilizer, things like that. And then the other thing is that this overall general perspective of being green. And there's a lot of components of this being green element of the greenhouse that I will be talking about in a little bit. But next slide, Matt. Okay, so the greenhouse. So any of the costs that I put up here, by the way, are only just so that everyone understands what the cost of the materials is. We're fully intending to fundraise for this. So we're not asking for any sort of money from the school or from budgets or anything like that. And I think that that's an important piece because obviously for the financial aspect of it, certainly, but the other big component of it is that the students are taking responsibility. This is a learning experience that they also want. And so I think that it's really going to tie in a lot of different components, particularly for the life skills students. So the cost of the greenhouse is about $1,120. It's a 12x8, and that greenhouse that's pictured on the slide is the actual one that I would like to purchase. I did look at a few different ones. There was a 16x6 and this 12x8 that sort of came down to being the final contestants, if you will, in terms of the balance between price, between size, etc. Both of those would offer 96 square feet of footprint. However, the 12x8 would allow 2 feet of benches on the sides. I say benches, but it would be, you know, growing tables on either side, plus 2 feet at the end, and then there would be a 4-foot wide walkway down the middle. So the 12x8 really offers the best of many different worlds. So it is a polycarbonate construction, which means, or in addition to that, it's easy to assemble as well as disassemble. So although I earlier talked about this longer term nature, meaning beyond like this year, if for whatever reason it was, hey, we need this area where it's currently sitting, we need that for a different project or for some other purpose, then the greenhouse could certainly be dismantled and moved to a different location. It is rust resistant. And that obviously is going to be very important in terms of the durability for down the road. It has built-in gutters for rainwater collection and roof vents for environmental control. And this is one of the green things that I was just talking about a little bit ago when I said that it promotes this sort of green sense of the campus. The rain gutters will help with that because that water can all be filtered right in, used right into the greenhouse and used to water the plants. All of the money, as I said, is going to be through fundraising. And, it's a total of about $2,011. So that is, some of that is estimated, but some of the money, looks like the formatting, sorry, but the formatting didn't sort of line up particularly well, but about $1,120 for the greenhouse, $100 for miscellaneous tools, buckets, hoses, watering cans, connections, things like that. About just a little under $100. I figured $91. These are 1 foot by 1 foot by 1.5 inches concrete pavers. And those would be for the inside, for the walkway of the greenhouse. There are other options that we could look at, but that seemed to be the most economical, and that would offer some solid footing for people. $200 for materials to construct things like the potting table, the garden benches. We would like to have a small potting table because it's an area where we can have some materials underneath. We can also have reference materials up on top on a small shelf. So we're looking at something that would be maybe no more than 2.5 feet long. And that would be something that the shop would be able to assist us with. Solar panels and associated installation materials. My bottom line is half cut off. I think that was the last, not sure if there was something else below that, but the solar panels. So in continuing with this theme of being a green campus, I would like to be able to have the solar panels to fully operate any of the electrical needs of the greenhouse. And when I talk about the electrical needs, they really are very minimal because there is no, we really wouldn't need any sort of lights or anything like that. It would be nice to have some of that set up. However, what I would like to do is at some point involve some of the STEM or robotics students in making it a fully, self-monitoring, self-functioning, where the vents at the top can open and close depending upon predetermined control parameters. Could also be automatic watering systems. These can all be controlled with microprocessors. So there's opportunity for expansions. Now, this wouldn't involve the life skills students, but there are some specific areas of the school curriculum where students could really contribute to that. Next slide.
Before you move on, Jim, could that line under the solar panels have been batteries?
The $500 is for the solar panels and associated installation materials. I kind of, since we don't have significant power needs, I think that the 500 would also include like other batteries and things. There
Okay.
probably is another line down below, but I can't quite see it.
Right.
But I'll see if I can pull it up. If I exit my full screen, I should be able to pull it up and see.
It
what
actually
that-
totals to the total up above. I think it's complete.
Oh yeah, it is complete. Yeah, that's the last part. Okay, thank you. I wasn't
Okay.
sure because it kind of got cut off down below. So one of the things, and Kevin is in a better position to be able to talk about the general program, but the life skills program is it's a non-credited program. They don't receive credits. What they do is they receive a certificate, and it is based on them attending the classes and the curriculum. Now, Kevin does have some teachers that work with him in order to provide that curriculum and provide that teaching experience. So for example, I do science, I should say. Right now we're doing a marine science unit, and it's, we do a lot of hands-on. I'll talk a little bit about my program. So about almost 2 years ago, not quite 2 years ago, I was teaching a STEM class, and we did a model rocket launch because a lot of students were interested in the rocketry. And that was at a school board meeting where I presented some of the items that we had built in the STEM class. And I mentioned about the rockets, and Larry had said, hey, I'm really interested in the rockets. I would love to join you. And so he did. But then he also joined us for another rocket launch, which was in November. We had a beautiful Friday, and it was great. And it was a great experience for the students because a lot of the students may not always have the opportunity to participate in a learning experience that is going to get them engaged. So that particular activity, that rocket launch, and we were very appreciative, Larry, that you had come down. You had provided some materials for us and provided the expertise. So that really was the activity to kick off our space and astronomy learning unit. And so it got the kids interested. The students were very interested, and they were excited about it. I will also say that if you've been into the school in the past, maybe about a month ago, we set up a display case. And right now it's in the atrium area, just around the corner from the school store. And we include a lot of the different things that we are learning about. And it's for life skills classes. There's science, there's some math activity, things that they've done. There's some books that they've been reading. We have the rockets in there. They're proud of this. They're proud of the work that they've done. Right now we're doing marine science. And so we have a 40-gallon saltwater tank. And in that tank, we have a live lobster. It's almost a pound and a quarter lobster. We have a rock crab that is bigger than my hand. We have some clams. We have a couple different species of oysters. We have hermit crabs. And this is the hands-on learning experience that I'm referring to. So they come in the morning and they check out what's in the tank. We have science first period of the day. So at 8 o'clock every other day. And sometimes they want to pick up some of the things and observe it and look at it. So the tank is sort of a way that helps them to be able to visualize and to have a hands-on experience. The tank doesn't take place of any of the other learning experiences. It's sort of a vehicle to help us get to there. And I would liken the greenhouse in the same fashion. So it's something that will augment the learning experience rather than replace it. So, and Jamie, this was one of your questions. Would this be in lieu of some other learning experience? And rather than it replacing, for example, a wellness class, it can be used to promote wellness, to promote healthy food choices, to promote things like learning about carbohydrates and sugars, to help promote about the chemical balances in fertilizer and why fertilizer can cause increased algae growth in water, or what the benefits of fertilizer, certain types of fertilizer are. We can do experiments. So it's intended to be a tool to help augment the learning process. The other thing about the life skills is that the learning experience is very unique for all the students. All the students in the life skills program have IEPs, and they're all very uniquely tailored, especially in the life skills program, to the learning situation that is best suited for that individual student. And so that's the kind of diverse learning that can be found in some of these activities where it's very much that hands-on component. Matt, next slide. So the curriculum, and so without getting into some of the specific details about the curriculum, there's a lot of things that are especially cross-curricular, and that really sort of cuts at the depth of the learning. So one of the first things, economics. So it's creating a farmer's market. It's and when I talk about economics, it's not just the financial end of it. It's marketing, so they can market that there is a farmer's market that's being created. They can sell vegetables, anything that they raise, to teachers. Wellness, so students will learn firsthand about what it takes to grow food, the impact of nutrients, healthy food choices. Social studies, and it may seem at first like what do you mean? You're going to have a greenhouse to learn about social studies. Probably in October, we were learning about different plants that some of which we had grown from seedlings. And again, we're limited because we have a small set of growing lights. But I had brought in some plants, and one of them was bamboo plant. We were talking about the regions in which bamboo grows. And, of course, we don't have bamboo here, but certain specific regions. And so, I had a map, and I was showing the map. And then later on in the day, I'm walking down the hall with a student. One of the students was walking down the hall with Kevin Bowden, the case manager, and I happened to see the student, and I said, "Hey, how you doing?" And he said, "Yeah, I'm good. I'm going to my technology class." And he's holding a stress ball, a little foam stress ball, and it was of the world. And I said, it was a globe. I said, "Hey, that's pretty neat." I said, "Do you remember we were talking about bamboo? Where does that grow?" And he remembered. He said, "One of the places is China." And he pulled out the globe, turned it to its other side where China was located. He said, it's right here. And it's not a formal assessment. It wasn't a summative, but it's evidence of learning. And for students that are that may have difficulties in the area of intellectual disabilities, that was a tremendous learning experience for him. You know, and I was proud of him. He did a great job recalling that information and knowing and being able to put it all together, because you know, it isn't necessarily easy for anybody. And he was able to piece all that information together and show me where it was. And then, of course, the other thing, the last component of the cross-curricular nature is English, and we're looking at research skills. And, you know, that will be evident in a lot of different areas regardless. So in the marine science right now, they're researching a marine organism, marine life that they've chosen. They'll be giving a presentation about it. And, you know, so they do have to do research, but also the writing and presenting, which are integral parts of the English and ties in nicely with this kind of curriculum. Next, Matt. I think I have one more. I have a couple more. Okay. School community involvement. And so I've sort of touched upon this when talking about things like the potting table, the benches that they're more like grow tables where the plants could be grown on those specific in the outer part of the greenhouse, still inside the greenhouse, but on the outer part of it. The STEM or robotic students can build control systems, things that will regulate, and we can actually, so this wouldn't be day one, it's things that can happen down the road, but we could actually monitor and regulate the temperature inside of the greenhouse. We could determine humidity thresholds, any of that stuff. ELOs, this is something where students that are interested in botany, landscaping, any of that could certainly be involved and could participate in the greenhouse. There's also the possibility that a wellness class that is looking to, so I know the wellness class is across the hall from a life skills room where it's actually a food and nutrition class. They are growing seedlings and they have a similar set of small growing lights. But it's difficult, and they're in the same situation where it's an interior classroom without any windows, so they become somewhat limited in what they can grow. Next, Matt. So this is the location, and if you're looking at the map, there's a yellow rectangle and then a black rectangle with an X through it. The black, and they actually look like it looks like they're closer than they actually are, but the yellow is the proposed location for the greenhouse. The black box with the X through it is where there are underground storage tanks, and the tops of those tanks that come up don't interfere. It won't be on top of those underground tanks. It won't be that close to the underground tanks. But this is actually a great location because, first of all, in the event that we can collect rainwater and we can use that for watering the plants, but there may be a need to use additional water. And there is a water spigot right outside. So the back of the cafeteria, that's actually like the cafeteria area. Thank you. That's the loading dock where the arrow is pointing to. And then a little bit over to the left, that's a grassy area, and that's like a lunch commons area. I say lunch, there is a patio underneath that overhang. And then the grass is just an area where students sometimes hang out during lunch or whatever. So it wouldn't interfere in that manner at all. If we wanted to, we could put a small little walkway using those same sort of concrete blocks. And that would be, we're really looking at probably about, maybe 15 of those blocks. Those blocks are about $1.90 each. So we could put like maybe 15 or something, maybe 20 of those blocks connecting up to the sidewalk, because right where the arrow is, there is a sidewalk that runs right along the building. And then there is that sidewalk that connects to the road and from the building.
And could you put the arrow where the actual, I don't really see the yellow right there. Okay. Yeah. Got it. Thank you.
Sorry. When I did the yellow, I thought it was going to show up a lot brighter. And then afterwards, when I was, now I'm looking at it, I'm like, it really wasn't all that bright. I apologize if it isn't coming in all that clear on you.
No, I see it. I wasn't sure though. I'm glad.
Yeah.
Thank you for pointing it out.
and it's actually oversized compared to what it will really be. And in this area, there are some trees. So well, you can see some trees on the left-hand side there, but there's also a couple trees on the right-hand side, like kind of close to where the underground storage tanks are.
Just
By
for
the way,
perspective, that area that has the rectangle with the X through it,
Yes.
what's the two dimensions of that height, width and length, roughly?
I would say that it's probably about 20 or 25 feet by maybe 40 to 45 feet. So Dan
Okay, so this is much smaller area than that.
yeah, the yellow, I didn't really give it a, it looks like they're in opposite dimensions, but it's definitely going to be smaller.
Yeah, I just wanted to get an idea of the scale. and
Yeah,
the-
no, I
for
think
the
that's a great question.
location.
So, and Dan Doyle and I did go out, we looked at the area, we checked it and to make sure that there was no interference. And then we also talked to the facilities crew here to make sure that there was no sort of problem or interference or anything like that.
Thank
Okay,
you.
yes, thank you. Matt?
You're at 22 minutes. And I have 15 minutes left in the committee meeting.
Okay, so I'll wrap it up.
I'll just point out that Daniel's already let me know that ISA, he needs the system back at 425 for ISA. So we got
Last slide, this only points out some of the extra opportunities we can do. On the far left-hand side is an aquaponics tank. We did set up a small aquaponics system in our life skills classroom, but it's very small in nature and you can't get the full scope of what you can, of the possibilities, in large part because of the sun and not having everything that you sort of need and having the space. In the middle is a hydroponic system, and this is something that we can always explore. Hydroponic systems are great in greenhouses. On the far right is, it's called the Tower Garden. It's aeroponics. It doesn't use any sort of, it does use some sort of grow media, which is usually broken down corn, coconut husks, and then the things can grow out of there. But again, you're limited by light and things like that. But these are all opportunities that we can take advantage of having a greenhouse in order to do. And so we could
So
really.
at this stage, Jim, what do you need from this committee? And Matt?
We are only looking for approval to put the greenhouse on that property. We would like to, and permission to go ahead with the fundraising. So it's going to be just a quick bullet point, 12x8 greenhouse, goes up quickly, comes down quickly. There's no sort of permanent structure. We will put in a walkway of 1 foot by 1 foot concrete blocks to cover what would be 10 feet by 4 feet as the walkway down the middle. And
Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve the greenhouse as presented. Is there a second?
Second that.
Any discussion, comments? Jamie?
Yeah, just I guess this is a point of order for Matt. Maybe he knows. Does the facilities committee recommend this to the full board, or does the facilities committee have authorization to just approve?
The facility committee has authorization to approve. Basically, there's a board policy that talks about facility alterations, which this met that dollar threshold. And it's just, you're just approving a facility adjustment.
So then my perspective, and thank you, Jim, is the last time we talked about this, it was not clear to me that the primary goal of this was special education focus for life skills. And my concern was that we were struggling to find an academic connection for general education. Being a primarily special education activity with ancillary benefits in some of the other areas that you've identified in terms of robotics, in terms of the solar, et cetera, I'm fine with it. I have no concerns.
Okay, I'm going to call a vote. Larry?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
And yes for myself. Thank you, Jim.
thank you. Thank you all very much. I really appreciate everything and I appreciate the time.
Talk to you later, Jim.
Sounds good. Thank you all.
Yeah, me too.
So
Take
Matt,
care.
what do you want to do next?
I think you guys know what I need to do for the boiler. So let's do the video system, because we have Dan Doyle here and Chris Snyder to speak about it. And is that okay?
Yep.
All right, so in the agenda, I put in a staff report and I'm gonna share my screen again. And a quote for a video camera system at Bakey, okay?
So we've got 4 minutes, I think, right?
Yep, so we're gonna make this fast. So the quote's for $35,477. And basically, right now, we're just, as I said, shoestringing our video operations at Bakey School. The cameras were installed by a prior vendor, and there's a couple of them that don't have licenses. And then also our video server failed. So the quotation, let me see if I can get the quotation going. Oh, dang it. I didn't link the quote. Let me see if I can bring it up. Right here. And so what I'm seeing is, so basically what this is, it removes the existing system and replaces all the cameras and puts in 25 cameras. What I'm finding out is that Chris Snyder can't see the kids that are on the current camera. And then he also said just before this meeting that some of the cameras have leaks to them, and it looks like you're looking through a foggy windshield.
How many
So
cameras do we have now, Matt?
What kind of camera system?
No, how many do we have now?
Can you answer that, Chris or Dan?
Yeah, we have a combination of digital and analog cameras. The digital cameras that we have in existence now cannot be supported by the recording system. So we have just a handful, about a half dozen of them that are analog cameras that we can view, but we cannot record.
And how many digital?
I believe we have an additional, about a dozen additional.
So 18 total, and you're looking for 25?
Additional, because we have cameras that that are not covering stairwells, they're not covering the playground areas, they're not covering the parking lot areas. We just, whoever designed the camera system there did not put them in a strategic location. So some of the cameras we can move and reuse, but we also need additional cameras if we're going to make this work.
So you need an additional 25, and then you're going to repurpose or some of the existing ones?
Yeah, we'll repurpose the digital cameras. The analog cameras will no longer can use.
Okay.
I have a question I'd like to ask. Is this impacting our liability in any way that may hit us later?
Well, yeah, from my standpoint, yes, greatly. I mean,
That's what I thought.
when you, if the cameras are present and the public finds out that we don't have the ability to use those cameras, it leaves us wide open for a huge liability issue. The average cost of a workman's comp claim in America right now is $41,000, and that's without long-term payouts. So, I mean, God help us if someone gets hurt there,
Okay. I just want to jump in really quick. There was an incident on the playground at Bakey where someone was injured, and even though there was a camera pointed at that incident, we couldn't see it.
So the cameras themselves don't seem that expensive. Is this a reasonable cost for the labor to install this system? I mean, what do they have to do besides?
Well, I mean, there's wiring and stuff that needs to be pulled, the installation, the licensing agreement alone for each camera. We were quoted at $365 per camera. I did some reconfiguring with the vendor, and we could probably get that down to about $210 per camera for licensing.
And how long is licensing good for?
I don't know the exact time. I believe it's 2 to 3 years, Matt. Is that correct?
I thought the licensing was attached to the camera. We may be paying a
There's
service fee.
Yeah, there's a fee associated with these cameras throughout the lifetime of the camera.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
There's typically a fee that's associated with each camera throughout the lifetime of the camera, but it's not that high dollar amount. That license is usually good for a period of time.
What they're doing is they're doing licenses for the software, and then they're also licensing the hardware. And right now we have 2 cameras that don't have licenses.
The cameras I'm going to install too are NDAA approved, the National Defense. cameras approved. They're called Univision cameras. They're made in America. The licensings are all in America. The problem with a lot of these camera systems is that they're manufactured overseas and they can be easily hacked into by some foreign nationals. Obviously, it's a school. We don't have that problem, but when we put this camera system in, I want everything compliant within U.S. standards. And with some of the cameras we have in place now, those licensings are held through foreign governments right now.
Hey, Jim, I don't know if you can
Yeah.
see me. I have my hand up.
I couldn't see you yet, Jamie.
So one is, it's 4:26. We're going to have to get off from ESA. Two is I would recommend that we have a second meeting maybe next week on facilities. I have a lot of questions on this. Seems overkill to me. This started as when it was first brought to the facilities that we have a camera that failed. Now it's not just a camera that failed. We're upgrading to NDA standards. The estimate of this system when it was broached in August was 10,000. It's up 350% since then. It seems to me there's a lot of overkill. I got a big dispute with the statement that this is going to cause us a safety issue. Cameras don't stop any safety issues. So they do in the investigation after the fact is what they do. The recordings are an after the fact investigation of what happened. They're not preventing anything from happening. Recording system. So I just got a lot of questions here, and to try to squeeze it in and get a decision in 4 or 5 minutes, just I don't think is the way to go.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I was going to propose that we have an additional meeting anyway, because there's a lot of CIP stuff that we need to get caught up on.
I agree.
It's time.
Okay, so let's, Matt, if you could throw out some dates when you could do an additional meeting.
Yep, we'll do
Okay.
that.
All right. Thank you, Dan. So we're going to adjourn.